Greetings, I'm Elijah Sankar 19, and this video is about creating tarot as a business and reading for other people in general. Okay, so reading for other people, one of the biggest guidelines that I stick to are I don't read about health. It's just not, that creates a sticky situation when you read about health. Just because you don't want to tell someone it's incorrect, you definitely want them to seek medical advice for anything health related. And I don't read anything about health. The other thing is, I try not to read to pull information from people who are not a part of the reading. So what does that mean? If let's say a woman comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to know if my boyfriend's cheating on me. Can you read the cards and tell me if he's cheating on me?" Well, that's something that she needs to ask him. That's really, you don't have the permission from his higher self or from his soul to get that information. Now, you can read for her and give her advice about how she should handle her relationship. Things like, should you stay with the relationship? Should you leave? How could you improve the relationship? You can give her advice about that, but it's never your place as a reader to tap into his consciousness and ask if he's cheating or not. That's really, I think you're really breaking like universal laws when you do that kind of stuff. So, I really stay away from those types of readings. I do a lot of relationship readings, but I don't do a reading about asking what other people are doing. That's really not, you really put yourself in a weird situation when you do that kind of stuff, especially if you get into it and again, don't do it. And here's another reason why. So let's say you do a reading, is my boyfriend cheating on me? And you flip a card and it says yes. What if it's wrong? And what if he's really not cheating? And there's a potential for it to be wrong. And then you roll into, well, whose definition of cheating? Is it her definition, his definition, the reader's definition? Then you get it weird like that. Because what if he's not cheating? What if he's really not doing anything? And now you've just sort of convicted this guy of cheating. You've given her the information she wanted. Her confirmation bias is there. And she's like, yes, I knew he was cheating. I just needed someone to tell me. Great, I'm going to go nail this guy. But there's no real evidence other than a tarot reading. And that's not fair. So definitely don't do questions like, does my boss hate me? You have to ask him. Things like that. So that's one thing. The next thing I do is now the gray area between tarot reading and fortune telling. There is an aspect of almost every reading where there's sort of a future element, but there's usually a past and present. And a lot of times, what I try to do as a reader is I try not to do readings that say things like, oh, you're going to get the job by the 20th. Oh, you're going to get this by next month. This is going to happen. What I do is give people advice on what I see. Hey, if you continue to do what you're doing, this could happen. And I try to avoid timelines, like specific timelines. Hey, in the next 30 days, this is going to happen. In the next 6 months, this is going to happen, because their actions could change that timeline. So you could be wrong. And so you want to say, hey, if you continue this situation, it could lead towards that. Let's just do, for example, real quick. Let's say if I just did a 3-card, I know for you, let's just say it's a past, present, future reading in a sense. And so this card is sort of like a teacher card. This card could be someone making a self-sacrifice, and this could be someone having financial struggles. Now, this card in the future position, does that guarantee that they're going to have financial troubles? No. All it's saying is, if you continue doing like sacrificing yourself and maybe not teaching or not leading, not following teachings of some sort, you could lead to a financial struggle. It's showing a trend. But if they decide to change this middle part, then this part will change. Okay? It's not fortune telling meaning fate. Like, oh, this is going to happen, so you better prepare for it. No, it's more like, hey, this is where you are. If you keep doing this, you may very well land here. And this is a strong likelihood, a strong possibility, but it's not guaranteed. It's not fortune telling. This could change if their actions change. So I try to move away from the idea that tarot readings are something that's set in stone. They're very fluid. They change, and sometimes you may give them that advice to help avoid something. So eventually, essentially, your reading was wrong, but it was very useful because it helped them avoid some sort of something that was bad. So, in essence, your prediction was wrong, saying, "Oh well, I predicted financial hardship," but the outcome, overall outcome for the person was positive because you gave them that warning, because you gave them that sort of future look of where they could go, they changed their actions to a better situation. So essentially, your reading is wrong, but it was good for them that it was wrong. The other way is, let's say there's a reading and the last card is something like extravagantly positive. I don't know, the Page of Wands. So let's say their last card is the Page of Wands, and that could mean that they're going to travel or move on to something new. Well, that might be something they really want to do. So that could be an indicator for them not to change anything. Stick with what you're doing so you can have this potential outcome. So that's sort of just different ways to look at it. Reading for other people, here's another thing, another topic that comes up is the idea of if I'm reading for someone across from me or in person, that I'll shuffle the cards, I'll shuffle, and then I'll give them the cards so they can shuffle. I've seen a lot of people do it either way. Personally, I don't like to do that. I kind of don't want them to shuffle my cards. I don't know, I'm just personal. That's just the way I feel. I just want my energy on the cards. Some people feel like their energy should be on the cards. Part of that is salesmanship. When you hand your cards over to the other person and they shuffle them, they feel like they're involved in the reading. So some people say, oh, well, it's energy, and I want their energy on the cards, and I want them to have influence on the cards. Really, in my opinion, it's salesmanship. You're trying to get them bought into the reading. You're trying to hook them in. You're trying to get them to really, you're handing over. When they hand the cards back over to you, it's sort of like saying, I trust you. I get that. I understand where that's in, how that's valuable, but I don't think it's needed. And I'm not frowning upon it. It's just not something I do. If you want to do that, no problem. I don't have any problems with it, but I'm not saying you have to do it. Some people who teach tarot say you have to do it. They have to touch the cards. Well, guess what? 98% of the tarot readings that I do are through the internet. They're not there to touch the cards. So I have to read their energy using my energy. I have to tap into what they have on more of a higher level, a thought level, a psychic level. I have to do that. They can't touch the cards. They're not here. So I don't think that's totally valid that they have to touch the cards. But hey, you do what you want to do. I'm okay with that. So that's big. Distance reading. There's nothing wrong with distance reading. Now, how do you do distance reading? There's essentially two ways to do distance reading. You can do live distance reading where you're either on the phone with the person or Skype or FaceTime. Like you're both interacting at the same time. You're reading the cards for the person. It's an open dialogue. So that's like a distance reading, a live distance reading. The second kind is a recorded reading, which is what I do. There's a recorded reading where I'm reading for the person, but they're not there. They've given me the question through email. They've given me the context. I'll read the cards, record it, just like I'm recording this video. I'll record the readings, and I'll send it off to them. The other way that you can do that is you could lay the cards out, take a picture of the cards, and then email them the picture with a write-up in the email. You can do it through text. I prefer video. I feel like it's a better flow to it, but some people are better writers than speakers, and some people don't want to get in front of the camera like what I'm doing. So not everybody has to do that. So you can take a picture of the cards and just write it all up. The advantage of that system is you'll have time to reflect. Like when I'm doing my readings, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it's all one shot. I let it all out. Whatever happens, happens. For them, someone who's doing an email reading could take a picture of it and they could write about the cards. They could go back and read more about the cards. They can sleep on it. They can meditate on it, and then come back and do the reading. So that's up to them if they want to do it that way. That's not a problem. So, and when I first started reading, that was the way I did it. That really helped me. That gave me time to reflect, and it sort of raised the stakes. Instead of me just learning and studying on my own, I was actually doing it for somebody else. So it sort of forced me to learn and read more about the cards while I was still in the early learning stages. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the sending off email readings. If you have the option to, the technology to, I would send it off as a PDF, so it can't be altered. That so they don't change it. So um, that's typically reading for other people. Now, as far as business is concerned, how do you charge for readings? You can charge for time. So some people say 30 minutes for $30, or some people will say 45 minutes for $60, or however $100 for 60 minutes. However you want to do it. And then in that block of time, there could be there are multiple readings. So it might be 4 or 5 or 8, depending on the pace of the readings. Or some people would say, hey, pay for this reading, this Celtic Cross reading that we'll do on the phone. I don't know how long it'll take, but it's going to cost $30. It's going to cost $40. And typically it takes 20 to 25 minutes for this one reading. So it's up to you to decide. Typically in the tarot business, what I've seen is more cards means longer reading costs more money. So it could be a situation where a 3-card reading is $10, a 5-card reading is $20. However you want to do it, it's up to you. But that's for you to decide. And from a business standpoint, I feel like you have to do a lot of free readings to really get your confidence up, to get your skills better, to improve your skills, and to learn how to receive like feedback or hard feedback. Like, hey, you're totally wrong, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being totally wrong. You're getting the feedback. Sometimes you're right, but the person doesn't want to admit it. They don't want to deal with their own junk. But sometimes you're wrong, and you just have to deal with it. Learn how to better interpret the cards. However you want to go. For my first year of reading publicly online, I would do free readings, like 3 or 4 a week of just free readings, and then the paid readings picked up because then I'm getting referrals from the free readings. Sometimes you do a free reading and the person will come back and say, hey, I liked the last one, I'll pay for the next one. You can do free readings as giveaways to increase followers on Instagram or social media, Twitter or whatnot, however, wherever your platform is, Facebook. Then I do a lot of free readings. I do public readings where I just post a 1-minute reading to my timeline. So that's just more examples of free work. Now, eventually you're going to have to charge. You can't do free readings forever. But I use free readings as a chance to improve my skills, and I still do. I'm not super tarot magician guy. I'm still learning, I'm still building, I'm still helping, doing things like that. So whenever I'm learning a new style or learning a new deck, I'm going to do a round or a new spread. I'm going to do a round of free readings, 5 or 6, 10 of them, where I'm just practicing those readings, looking for the feedback and seeing how it feels. And sometimes they feel good right away. Sometimes they're bumpy and you got to kind of work on it, especially if it's recorded. But go from there, and then you start to charge. Whatever you decide to charge. If you're charging for your time, or if you're charging for per reading, per question. There's multiple ways of doing it, and you'll see as you go to different people's websites, you'll see, oh, this person does it by time. This person. Some people only do phone readings, only do FaceTime meetings. Some people only do email readings. So it just depends on style. I've done readings through social media, so sometimes I'll do a reading through Twitter. I'll send a DM to the person, and it'll be a video of a reading. So there's just different ways of doing it, and what's best for you. You want to have a disclaimer on your website, things like just letting people know that this is entertainment only. I'm not a professional psychologist, or I'm not a professional financial advisor. I'm not a professional medical doctor or psychologist. You want to have a disclaimer on your website or wherever you do your readings. Say, hey, this has to be considered entertainment. The spiritual things like this are considered entertainment. That's just the legal formality. It's you may take it as seriously as you want, and I suggest you take it seriously, especially from a spiritual standpoint. But from an entertainment product standpoint, it's like the food industry has to live up to certain norms. Well, we have to live up to certain expectations also, and say, hey, a lot of disclaimers just saying, hey, I can't predict that my readings are 100% accurate. I can't say that I can't give you advice about health. Seek your medical professional. I can't give you mental health advice. Really, I'm just giving you, reading the cards, giving you just life advice based on what I see from the cards, and I'm using that advice to maybe help you make better decisions. Ultimately, decisions are up to you. You got to do what you got to do. And the reader, the person you're reading for, the querent, as people call, or the seeker, they have to make their own decisions and do what they have to do. But you definitely want a strong disclaimer on your website. I'll post my disclaimer underneath this section, just an example of a disclaimer. You just don't want to have any legal liabilities, and the chances are pretty low because it's not like you're performing something on the person. You're not, you're not doing surgery or anything like that. There's typically a pretty low chance of any type of legal backlash, but you definitely want to have yourself covered. The other side of it, one more thing I just want to talk about real quick. I know this video is getting a little lengthy. We're already at the 16-minute mark, oh God. Is integrity. Now, as a tarot reader, you really you have to have integrity. So, like when I did that example of that Five of Pentacles that came out, I have to say, hey, there may be some financial trouble coming your way. It's easy to sell readings if everything's positive. Oh, it's great. He's the one for you. Go marry him. Hey, this is the best job. Go, or this business is going to work for you. And if you look at the tarot deck, there's almost equal number of cards that represent struggle as prosperity. And you have to be honest about that. If the person comes out and they have a Four of Swords and they have not to say these are bad cards. They have the Death card, and then they have the Eight of Cups. You gotta let them know, hey, there might be some struggle here. You may need some rest. You may need to end the situation with the Death card. There's just different ways of looking at it, and you have to be honest about that. You can't say, oh, you see these cards that indicate potential pitfalls or potential trouble, and then say, it's going to be great, go for it. Because everyone loves to hear good news, but that's not your responsibility to give them quote-unquote good news. Your job is to read the cards as you see them and as you know them, their definitions, and interact next to each other, their proximity with each other, and be honest about that. People are going to appreciate you later on for letting them know, giving them a potential warning about a situation, than for them to walk into a situation with their head in the sky, and just saying, hey, this is going to be great, so I have nothing to worry about. They got their guard down, and then smack, they get hit by the situation. So you really do have an integrity issue as a tarot reader to be honest with them about what you see. If it's not favorable, if it's not great, if it's not, you have to work with that. Give them advice. What do you need to do to improve this situation? So maybe more of your reading is about advice than it is about just this exact card. It's about how to fix this situation. But don't just sell great airy-fairy readings or give away airy-fairy, great readings because it's going to make people happy or it's going to make people feel good or people want to buy a good product. Oh, this person's readings are always positive. They're always great. I always go back to him because, he gives me great advice because it's always positive. Nothing bad ever happens. Well, that's not life. And the tarot is a reflection of life in a sense about the things that we go through. And there are some pitfalls. There are some struggles. There are some days you're going to have the tower. That's just what it is. And you have to be honest about that. So definitely want to have a strong sense of integrity, honesty, and just do your best to help people. And you definitely don't want to run into any idea of scamming people or being a sort of a charlatan of any sort. Your job is to do the best you can with the skill set you have to help people. And that's really all I can ask of you as a student of mine, is to help people as best you can with the highest integrity. And if something is beyond your scope or beyond your ability, tell them, hey, this is not a reading for me. This is something I can't do. I can refer you to somebody else. Or I just have to turn this one down. I can't help you with this situation. So, and have the integrity to do that when you feel like there's potentially an overwhelming situation. All right. I appreciate you listening to my rant. I would like for you to definitely listen to this a few times to sort of get the ideas and let them sink in. I'm Elijah Sunkar 19. Thank you for being a part of this course and this school. I appreciate it. Love and light.